Yesterday in the Bloomfield Garden, one of the largest parks in Jerusalem, a dedication ceremony was held for a 1,134-pound, 11-foot-long bronze lion sculpture that was given to the city of Jerusalem as a gift symbolizing the friendship and support of Christians in the U.S. for the Jewish people of Israel. The Lion of Judah statue has been installed. It was installed back in May of 2020, but the dedication of the statue was postponed until yesterday due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And the story behind the statue goes back even further than that. And with me now to talk about the Lion of Judah's journey to Jerusalem is the sculptor, the creator, artist Max Greiner, Jr. of the Coming King Foundation based in Kerrville, Texas, a good friend of FRC. Max, welcome to Washington Watch.
For the invitation and opportunity to kind of share what God's doing with us.
Well, this is fascinating. I know you were not able to be there because of an emergency in the family, but
Right.
You've got to be excited about the fulfillment of this vision of giving this Lion of Judah to the city of Jerusalem, to Israel.
Yes, sir, I am. And God, He orders our steps and He puts our priorities out. And I had to be here with the family on some things, crises we had here, but God's on everything. And so I'm kind of like old Moses with the Ark of the Covenant and the Ten Commandments. He didn't get to go into the Holy Land, Israel, either. He had to stay and watch from a distance. And so that's kind of what I had to do. And ironically, this lion is kind of a type of the Ark of the Covenant. It actually, when we shipped it to Israel, it landed in a port called Ashdod. And then it was brought down a road to a storage that we had arranged with the Joseph Project. And it happened to be in Bet Shemesh, or Shemesh, however they say it. And that's the exact route that that the Ark of the Covenant followed, with Moses and Joshua, and when it was captured and taken over. So literally, it went to Bet Shemesh, and then it sat in a warehouse for almost 2 years, just like the original Ark of the Covenant had to sit in the house of Obed-Edom, I believe was his name, and before the king called it into Jerusalem. Yeah. And so it's kind of followed a similar path. So it's quite amazing. And we think this is kind of a type of Ark of the Covenant.
Well, that's a tenth of the time. 2 years, it was 20 years in his house, and his house was blessed during that time. Let's talk about the motivation, the inspiration behind the sculpture. Tell our viewers about that.
Well, you know me a lot of years, Tony, and I figured out, back in 1986, I guess, that God could give me ideas. And so instead of just working up my ideas the typical way an artist does, I'm also an architect. Instead of doing it that way, I kind of got spoiled with a divine servant and learned that he would tell me what he wanted if I would just listen. So this Lion of Judah was inspired when I was standing on a hill in Kerrville, Texas, right on Interstate 10. And God had just given us land to build a sculpture garden to honor the Lord. And it was worth millions of dollars. And as I stood on that hill, there was a beautiful point that extended out towards the interstate. And again, this location happens to be halfway between the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean on Interstate 10 at the same latitude as Israel. And so anyways, I asked God, Lord, what do you want to put here? This is a wonderful place. And I believe He spoke into my mind. And I got what you might call a word of wisdom. And He said, I want to sculpture a big lion right here with the Ten Commandments monument. And so I said, oh my gosh, Lord, that would be a wonderful thing to have, a real big Ten Commandments monument with a lion on it. And so that began the vision. I got plenty of confirmations as soon as I shared it with my wife, Sherry, and other Christians that were involved in our project to build a sculpture prayer garden for Jesus on Interstate 10. And so as we got into the project, I actually started, working on the foam and carved it out of foam first, and then started later to put clay on it, and that's what the clay looked like. But what happened is I got delayed with my life and everything going on, like so many of us do, and so I wasn't able to finish it until later. But this lion, in the meantime, I had felt like the Lord was telling me the number one needs to go to Israel. And before we put any lines anywhere else in the world, that's assigned to numbered edition, that number one needed to be given to Israel by American Christians. So many Christians helped me, friends, prayer intercessors, a lot of different people over a lot of years. But when we finally got the project and decided to do it, we got Leadership Inc. and Jeff Anderson and Barbara Anderson here in Kerrville to help us raise the money to get it over there. Now, Sherry and I were donating our profits, and Eagle Bronze in Lander, Wyoming, one of the biggest foundries in the world, owned by Christians, Monty and Beverly Paddleford, they were donating their profits. But we still had a whole lot of cost to getting it over there. And we thought that raising the money was the hard part. And it was hard, but that went pretty fast. Then we had to figure out how to ship it to Israel. And shipping anything is super expensive. But by the grace of God, God provided the Joseph Project and Harvest for Israel that does humanitarian work in Israel to help us get it over there. And then we got it over there, and we tried to give it to the nation of Israel and the city, and even the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast folks, Albert Vexler and Michelle Bachman and others helped us try to get it there, but we couldn't get the approval. And so this lion sat in a box, just like the Ark of the Covenant sat in a box in Bet Shemesh. And for all this time, until in a sovereign miracle, I believe, a divine appointment, the Deputy Mayor Fleur sat next to Michelle Bachman, former Congresswoman Michelle Bachman, at a banquet. And they struck up a conversation, and Michelle knew about this and had already prayed. And so she told the deputy mayor that we're trying to give them a free gift of a big lion that represents Jerusalem, King David, the tribe of Judah, the nation of Israel, and the Messiah. And so anyways, by the grace of God, Michelle got the deputy mayor to go right over. And what had transpired, we had before tried to give the lion during the administration of Mayor Barak, I think, or Barkat, and we never could get any acceptance. And then the new mayor came in, and his name was Moshe Lion or Leon. And so in the administration of Mayor Lyon, they accepted the lion gift. And thanks to so many people, we were making progress. But then the city said, we don't want to touch it. We want to have you do it all. And I said, I'm a long way off. And God brought in through a divine appointment again, Rabbi Pesach Walicki, an Orthodox rabbi who builds bridges for friendship, as he says, between Christians and Jews. And so God used my friend, now good friend, Rabbi Walicki, and he volunteered without even really knowing what he volunteered for. He called me from a boat out in the middle of a lake in Minnesota with a pastor friend of mine, Tim Peterson. And I said, hey, where are you from? And he took Bet Shemesh. And I said, I got a lion stuck in a box in Bet Shemesh. Would you help me? And we prayed, he took it on. And so, Tony, that's how he got it in. We got it installed. But then we went for this dedication.
Great story, Max, and it's exciting to see the fulfillment. I know you've carried this vision for a long time, and I just want to congratulate you on seeing this dedication ceremony take place yesterday. Always great to see you, Max. Thanks so much for joining us.
Let me say, Tony, the only reason we did this is because we love God, we love Israel, we love the people of Israel, and it is a gift.
And I know that it is.